In the year 2024, Romania is slowly ceasing to be, in the eyes of off-roaders, the same country as before. EU regulations regarding forest use and protection of national parks are slowly being enforced. Even if these regulations existed before, they were practically dead and no one really cared about them. But now, it seems the regulations are being implemented. National parks are definitely closed for this year, which means there's a ranger on practically every road around a park. At some forest entrances, signs with prohibitions have appeared. Nevertheless, Romania is still off-road friendly, as there are still many wild places open, and many roads in Romania remain undiscovered. Our trips are all about discovery and exploration. We never know what we'll encounter on the road. We never have a plan. We have a spot marked with a finger on the map. A real paper map. Starting from the capital of Transylvania, we turned the key and headed towards the spot marked as an open-cast mine with a lake below. The place we discovered turned out to be interesting enough that I'll spend more time on it. But more on that in a moment. Before we got there, we were surprised by a route around a picturesque lake. On its shore, you can stop at designated places and camp. The lake is large, nestled between mountains. It looks most spectacular from a bird's-eye view. Let's also check out one of the monasteries located near our travel destination. The place was open and you could visit it. In the upper left corner of the frame, you can see our travel destination, the mine. Meanwhile, listen to the story about this place. In the spring of 1977, engineers representing the government of the communist dictator Nicolae Ceausescu arrived in the village of Geamana and informed the residents that they had to relocate due to the change of use for the valley in which they lived. The entire valley was repurposed as a waste reservoir for a newly established copper mine. The villagers were offered compensation of $2,000 for each home and a new place to live. As a result of these actions, 300 families from Geamana were scattered across Romania. But not all of them. Once, the village of Geamana lay deep in a fertile, vibrant valley. Today, it's buried under 90 meters of industrial waste. Yet even more than 40 years after evacuation, some residents who refuse to relocate can still be found. In the 1970s, work in the mine above began in earnest. The communist authorities built a dam at the valley's mouth to enclose it, and gray, muddy liquid started seeping through the village roads. It was the second largest copper mine in Europe, once employing about 500 people. Currently, mining activities have been stopped due to numerous protests from nearby residents. The main reason for the protests was the mine's contamination of groundwater, as it failed to secure the bottom of the reservoir. The sludge that poured into the valley is a result of the froth flotation process used by the Romanian mine and most other copper mines worldwide. The copper-rich rock is ground into powder and then placed into chemical baths with bubbling water. Hydrophobic copper flakes attach to air bubbles, forming a copper froth that is skimmed from the surface of the bath. The remaining toxic sludge is discarded. These very wastes submerge the village. Thankfully, the lake no longer grows. However, it's still noticeable that waste flows from the mine, even though it's not operational. In the waste lake, The church tower that was once the last and highest point of the village is still visible. With the sludge from the mine, some parts of the lake turned red due to the drainage of acidic minerals. The acidic red water results from rain and spring water flowing through the minerals exposed by the mine. Although this process occurs naturally, copper mining significantly intensifies its effect. In the southern part of the lake, we can admire a colorful, though somewhat unsettling landscape. The old grass-roofed cottages and the abandoned farming tools make a big impression. Below the dam, made from surrounding stone, there is another village and a charming disused church with an atmospheric graveyard. Along the way, we also pass a quarry, which was the source of material for building the dam. The lake and the mine were just a starting point for us for further exploration. After finding the right road, the cars slowly moved uphill in search of an interesting trail and, of course, adventure. Unfortunately, the first choice turned out to be a miss. While the path took us in the intended direction, it suddenly ended, even though it shouldn't have according to the map. Thickets of bushes and obstacles on the road, though easy to remove, subtly suggested to us that this was not the best route. We gave up the moment it became impossible to drive any further, and swarms of flies started attacking us, which became unbearable. All of this forced us to turn back and choose a completely different direction. The leader of the day claimed that the new heading... Well, he wasn't right this time either. Romania is a friendly country. If you see a blocked road, in most cases you just open it, drive through and close it again. We have never encountered aggression from the locals. They are usually delighted to see strangers in off-road cars, because they know they'll receive a customary Polish treat, a bottle of Polish vodka. It's an excellent currency. On this day, we met a shepherd who, after receiving the gift, decided to be very helpful and showed us a road that, unfortunately, ended in the middle of the forest. We retraced our steps, and after filing a complaint, we received a completely new direction, which was unfortunately the same. Both azimuths ended at spots meant for feeding wild boars. I don't know if we looked like potato suppliers. Maybe we did. I'd explain it by the state of our guide. At our first meeting, he seemed cheerful. By the second, you could clearly see that the gift he received was very much appreciated. The wide smile of gratitude on his face said it all. Well, time to turn back. The next trail through the Apuseni Park area turned out to be exactly what we were expecting. Following partly the map and partly the azimuth, we reached picturesque meadows. The roads invited us to drive, and the beauty of nature made us decide to camp overnight on one of the peaks. Camping in such a place has many advantages, the biggest being the chance to watch both the sunset and sunrise. Time for a meal straight from the campfire and enjoying the views. Here we are camping. Just between us, I've got some crazy friends with me. Crazy because they're all a bit nuts. Obviously, I'm the only normal one in the whole group, which is why I'm the leader here. Yeah, and the rest are in recovery. We have our first patient. Here you go. Delicious. I recommend it. Already spicy. Already on fire. That's how it feels. We move on. Here's our second patient. Yes. And the third patient. Yellow brat. No leave yellow. must be next to him.
Heartbeat soft and slow in this quiet glow. Stories
The next day, after a short discussion, the expedition set off toward the abandoned buildings in the nearby valley. Some members of the expedition were captivated by the local flora. The inside of one of the huts was accessible thanks to the open door. The interior exposed the roof construction, which was made of grass and birch sticks.
never feel alone.
In the corner of the room was a threshing machine. The device was still operational. The further path along the peak of the meadows was exceptionally beautiful. We admired a herd of wild horses, so skittish that filming them was only possible with a drone. The path kept revealing vehicle wrecks or equipment left by the residents. The cars finally drove into the yard of a local resident. He turned out to be very helpful, giving detailed advice on the journey. Unfortunately, we didn't understand a word he said. A necessary break for a meeting on a nearby hill resulted in choosing a new direction. In Romania, the law still doesn't prohibit burials on one's own land. That's why you'll often find graves of mountain people there. Some of them, as bad as it may sound, are quite recent. Traveling on the asphalt towards the Strategic Road, we occasionally wandered off towards the nearby hills. We searched for a shortcut, but unsuccessfully. However, we discovered many fascinating spots, like this one. It's private land that the owners allowed us to enter. We thought there was a way through. Unfortunately, there wasn't a road, something the locals seemed to know. That would explain their surprised expressions when we arrived and laughter upon our return. Romania is a country where off-road adventures meet the wild beauty of the mountain landscapes. You won't just find asphalt roads connecting settlements here. There are also roads that take you high above the clouds, offering unforgettable views and experiences. One of the most spectacular routes is Strategica, an off-road gem in Romania, which amazes both off-road enthusiasts and lovers of wild nature. Strategica is a historic route built by the Germans during World War I, running through the peaks of the Lacul Mountains. During the trip, you can admire fabulous panoramas of Lake Vidra, the Parang Mountains, Kepecani, and Lotruluj. This route connects Transalpina, known as Drumul Regelui, with the valleys of Macesului and Ruderese, offering an adventure on one of the most spectacular off-road sections in Romania. Strategica is a challenge that tempts not only with spectacular views, but also with a moderate level of difficulty. Even travelers with little off-road experience will be able to navigate the route, enjoying the journey on this path. The road, running at a height of 2,000 meters above sea level, provides incredible experiences. In good weather, with each turn, travelers discover breathtaking landscapes. For this reason, the route is an ideal choice for those photographing wildlife. Traveling along the Strategic Road, you'll encounter not only other off-road vehicles, but also mushroom pickers whose campers and trailers are parked along the road during the season. Before starting your adventure on the Strategic Road, it's worth stopping at Staina Stefanu, where you can try traditional Romanian dishes like lamb stew cooked over a campfire. A stop here offers not just a chance to rest, but also to experience the local culture. When traveling the route, remember to prepare your car well. During our trip, the hub broke in one of our vehicles. Can you tell me what you're doing now? I'm trying to lift the rods to see if anything has broken because it's going thud, thud, thud. Unfortunately, that was the end of the ride for the car. And what are you doing here? I'm the manager. More details. I'm the manager. Luckily, the breakdown happened on an asphalt road, allowing for proper actions to be taken. The route starts at Pasul Stefanu. You won't find any signs there. It's the beginning of your solo adventure. The road varies from easy sections to rocky parts carved into the rock, which require concentration to tackle. These obstacles require a four-wheel drive vehicle or a dual sport or enduro motorcycle. There are no signs on the route, so you'll need to rely on a map or information from people you meet on the trail to avoid getting lost on the branches of the main path. During the season, you'll definitely encounter shepherds with pack donkeys and other adventure lovers. There are two possible endings for the route. The easier and longer option is the descent into Ruderese Valley. A paved road leads to the village of Malaja. From there, you can continue your off-road journey towards Lake Petrimanu and the water dams. If the road is blocked by an electric fence, don't worry. Just open the gate, pass through, and close it. The second descent is a more challenging section, through the Makesuluj Valley, full of sharp turns, cross banks, rocks, and steep slopes. This is an option for experienced off-roaders, starting about halfway along the main road. Before setting off on the route, make sure to check the weather forecast, as rain can significantly complicate the journey and clouds may obscure the views. On the trail, you'll find many good spots for camping or overnight stays and many branches off the main road leading to interesting corners. Taking a dip in one of the many streams is worth recommending, of course, if you have the courage. The water is always very cold. Its temperature hovers around 2 degrees, if you know what I mean. If you want, you can spend the night on one of the peaks, which is over 2,000 meters high. But remember, in such a place, the temperature is usually low and the wind blows hard. But is there anything better than waking up in such a setting at sunrise? Time to move further towards the water. Lake Vidra is a reservoir located in the Parang mountain range on the Lotru River in the Valsia district of south-central Romania. The lake covers an area of 12.4 square kilometers. The associated Lotru Ciunget hydroelectric power plant has a maximum output of 510 megawatts and uses an elevation difference of about 800 meters from the lake surface to the plant's turbines. The dam and hydroelectric plant were constructed from 1965 to 1972. According to locals, there was once a secret gold mine in this area used by Nazis during the Second World War. When Berlin fell, the Nazis took prisoners and all documentation underground and detonated the area. Thus, no one can determine the exact location of the mine shafts. How much of this is true is unknown. However, given the things found here, the stories seem to have a kernel of truth. In the mountains, you'll find many abandoned places connected to the dam's construction and possibly to the mine itself. That's why it's worth exploring the wildest areas. You never know what's awaiting around the next corner. You can reach the dam via a paved road, passing post-communist ruins of resorts. The dam's staff usually allows access to it. Looking down, you can observe that there's no visible outflow. The water reaches the lower-lying power plant through a system of pipes carved into the rock. If you search thoroughly, below the dam you'll find emergency water chutes with a diameter exceeding 5 meters. Further down, you'll come across a small hydroelectric plant, ruins of a factory, and a perfect spot for an overnight stay. The river flowing nearby is full of mica flakes, which in the sun make its bottom shimmer with a velvety glow. We're nearing the end of our journey, the last, already third ascent on the Strategic Road and exploring the side branches of the trail. The last camp, and it's time to head back towards Poland. This is not our first, nor our last trip to this part of Europe. We have to take advantage of the fact that there are still wild, mysterious, and hard-to-reach places. These spots can be discovered. You just need an off-road vehicle and a good guide. Our trip lasted less than 10 days and was so intense that it will be remembered for a long time.